Hello, Future Tribe. Welcome to another episode of the podcast. Thank you for joining us today. And joining me, Germaine, is Kat McLead, all the way from the US. Hey, Kat, how are you today?
I'm doing great. I just took a dip in the ocean, swam for about 15 minutes and did a little beach jog, and I'm feeling amazing on a beautiful 78-degree Fahrenheit day in February in sunny Southern California.
Oh, nice. I've never been to California, but I think it'd be nice one day. I say hi to you next time. Hey, so let's get started with a bit of an intro of what you do and who you are sort of now, and get back to how it all started as well.
Right now, my business gears towards busy moms, helping them pinpoint their perfect business idea. And I use the same framework, this high purpose, high profit, high pleasure framework that I developed 13 years ago, helping women transition out of the sex industry. So that's where the framework was birthed. And I've refined it for busy moms like myself so that they can make high profit for the time spent and still have fulfilling work of their own that feels purposeful, that makes them feel independent, brings in independent income, and allows them to stay mom first.
Okay. So it's very much, I guess, this is what I love about business. It's that business lets you have a life. It gives you almost the freedom to lead a life, where you make the decisions, you call the shots. I think often work. And business is work as well, but working for someone else can end up being this, you've got to work to their parameters of, say, what is working, is working turning up 9 to 5? And more often than not, actually turning up half an hour in advance and staying half an hour later. But when you do your own thing, you can be a mom, you can be someone else, or you can be heaps of other people while also having a business, rather than just being, the accountant or the programmer. So is that sort of need to be a mompreneur, so to speak, did that come out of necessity, or is that by design? How did you sort of come up with this model?
I've been an entrepreneur for 20 plus years. I started as an entrepreneur. I've only worked for somebody else for about 6 months of my life, my adult life, and I did not like it. I did not like having set hours like you just mentioned. I did not like being micromanaged. I did not like having to do things I did not want to do. Versus when I do that for my own business, it feels like my own choice. So I've always been an entrepreneur. I was the child selling blow pops to my classmates that I bought at the grocery store for a dime and sold for a quarter.
Okay, so you're another one of those people. It's funny because the last episode, I spoke to someone who again was that sort of, yes, I was always meant to be an entrepreneur. I was the guy getting in trouble for, selling things at school, for example, selling things for a profit. And funny enough, this is the second week in a row that we've talked to someone who sort of had that drive, from a young age. Now, why was that? Why did you do that? Was that again because you saw this opportunity, or was it because you wanted pocket money? Was it because you needed pocket money? What was the cause of that?
I love money. I unabashedly love money. I think money is great. I do great things with my money. I donate 10% of all of my revenue to charities of my choice. So I think I've always had a a desire for money. And I also want to point out that almost all of my clients over this last 13 years of working with people did not feel like they were born entrepreneurs. I just don't want anyone listening to feel discouraged, like, oh my gosh, the last listener and Kat, they were just always that way, even when they were kids. That is true. It is the truth. And maybe that makes being an entrepreneur a little bit easier for me. However, all of my clients, the vast majority of them did not feel like they were born entrepreneurs. A lot of them were leaving corporate jobs, leaving jobs they did not like, jobs that did not allow them to be mom first. So that emphasis is important because you can be born with a certain amount of skills, but let's just face it, being consistent and doing the work outweighs any kind of natural talent.
Exactly. Being consistent turning up, and just being willing to do the work. And I think there's an element also of just being willing to outlast everyone else. I think in a lot of industries, it's just you just end up being the last one to die, or the last one standing almost. Where because business is a hard slog, it can take 3 years, it can take 3 months, it can take 3 days. Who knows how long it'll take for you to do well? It's all just about turning up and just going for it and just sort of staying consistent, I think. Now, going back to being a mom and working and having a business at the same time, where do you start from? Like, where do you, I mean, I still struggle with it. Like, where do I draw the line of being a good partner, being, say, fair to my dog? I don't have kids yet, but, a dog to me is a responsibility that I purchased and I've taken on. And, I have to walk the dog. I have to spend time with the dog. A dog isn't just this accessory that is there when I need it. And I often struggle, between, do I go for a run with the dog? Do I play with the dog for an hour? Or do I sit down and, yes, it's 10 p.m. or yes, it's 8 p.m. Do I just go, okay, it's late night, it's dark out, I'm just going to do some work, versus spending time. I mean, when it's your kids, it's even probably more important and even more time consuming. Now, where, how do you sort of, deal with that? Because a business can be a child, a business can be a second child or a third child. Where do you start from?
I time block. I religiously time block, but I'll move backwards. I believe in businesses that take 15 hours or less a week. I live by this. I have great success with my 15-hour model, and almost all of my clients work these hours, maybe up to 20, because I totally believe in being mom first. And one of the ways that we do that is using my hyper-focus model, and I'll explain it really briefly. But basically, for 30 minutes, you set a timer. And during that 30 minutes, you work on your business. You do the steps necessary to move your business forward. So for me, I have a list and I follow the list religiously. I know where I'm about to go and I follow the list. There's no time wasted. I'm done with point one, I go to point two. I'm done with point two, I go to point three. There's no leeway time. It's just
Mm-hmm.
sitting down. And if I want to go over the 30 minutes, I do. And I just whip it out. I know exactly where I'm going. And for moms newer who maybe don't know like exactly the framework or like what the path is, I have them think about what's next when they are folding laundry, when they are going to the bathroom, when they are brushing their teeth. So when they sit down for their work time, they really hit it. And talking about your dog, I blocked out walk my dog today.
Mm-hmm.
And part of my workday, because I believe in that high purpose, high profit, high pleasure business, was blocking out that time for my beach time and walking my dog. And then I picked up my son from school. I spent time with him and I blocked out this hour to spend with you during my son's quiet time where he gets to relax and play toys and work on his tablet.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I must jump in and say that while we're talking about mums, this sort of applies to anyone trying to do any big task. What we're really talking about is competing priorities, competing responsibilities, and then strategies on how to just get more done and be more focused and be hyper focused. And time blocking is a really, really good way to do that. And I love that sort of concept of, now you talk about 15 hours a week. That's hyper focused 15 hours. And there's this research that shows you that that says that people always tend to fill up the time allocated for a task. And yes, okay, that's within reason. So if the task is going to take longer, okay, you're going to push it. But you've just said that if it goes past 30 minutes, well, that's fine. You will put in the 45 or the hour that you need. So there is that sort of research that indicates that if you're trying to get something big done, just block it out. Tell yourself, if you're training for a marathon, block out training sessions. Don't say, I will train X amount of times a week. I don't need to put it in a calendar, because I guarantee you what's going to happen is you're never going to put your shoes on. You're never going to run. And guess what? That marathon, you're just going to say, actually, let's do the one in 2021. 2020, I gave it a go, but I'm not ready. Let's give 2021 a go. And what you end up doing is just never really achieving what you've got to achieve. Now, with all this, is there an element of that sort of, done is better than perfect as well that you sort of talk about, or how do you sort of address that?
Absolutely. Done is much better than good. For instance, I have a new podcast out myself, and I have one of my clients doing it for me. And she offered to do everything for me, the editing, she made the music. And that's the only reason I have it out there, because she loves my work so much. And I just film them. I don't edit them. She does it. I don't even listen to them, because you know what? Done is better than perfect. If you wait for perfection, you will be waiting forever. As a matter of fact, when you start out, it's going to be messy and ugly, and it's okay. You only get better, just like that marathon you keep talking about, by putting that one step in front of the other. That first mile, it's not going to feel good. That's just part of business. Business is messy. Business has a lot of failures. I mean, I'm 20 years in. My first 5 years, I did like everything wrong that you could possibly do wrong. And I overworked, and I hated my business, and like, it's just part of the curve. It goes back to what you said about the 3 years and the 3 days. I want to encourage anybody who's starting a business or newer in business, that those success stories that you hear about 3 months, they are few and far between, just like movie stars are few and far between. The 3 to 5 years is so much more reasonable. Most big businesses, like Amazon was not profitable for 10 years.
Hmm.
Yet people expect to go online, they try a little business here or there, then they quit, and that's when you fail. If you never quit, you will not fail. Now, you will have to pivot. If you're not getting business and traction after a reasonable amount of time, then you've missed the mark. You've most likely crafted an offer that people don't want. That's uh, the most common
Sort of
reason.
reason for failure, so to
Yeah,
speak.
for
Yeah.
undesirable results, for not signing clients, for not making money, is that you've crafted something that people don't want. And that is part of inexperience, and it's also part of not maybe having the right guidance to help shortcut your success. But you need to make sure that you craft an offer that people actually want to buy from you.
Yeah, exactly. And like, I think often people just hear about, oh, I know this guy, he's got a drop shipping business, he makes so much money, or he's got an affiliate business, he makes so much money doing this. It is crazy. I wish I was him. But you sort of don't realize the time that they've had to spend, working for 20 years in e-commerce to understand why people buy and how SEO works. I was listening to another podcast recently, and that guy, he does affiliate marketing now and is extremely successful, but he's spent 3 to 5 years building these websites that come up on search results that people trust, that people believe in. It was 3 to 5 years of no income. And now, yes, he makes money, but often I think people forget to mention the hard work that they put in. Funny enough, they just sort of go, hey, look at me now, I'm making all this money. How awesome am I? Forgetting to sort of mention, actually, I had to put in all this work. I had to do all this stuff. Now, going back to time blocking, so that's one way to, I guess, get things done. When you time block, do you also say have outcomes so that you don't end up, say, having another 30 minutes blocked out and end up working on what you're working in the previous 30 minutes? Is that one of the aspects of it, sort of saying 30 minutes, time blocked, task blocked as well?
It's task blocked. Like I said, I usually follow the same formula that's really worked for me in growing my business, so I know what's going to come next. And again, if this will help people who are feeling overwhelmed. If the 30 minutes comes up, you can stop. You don't have to continue, even if you're not done. I choose to if I'm in the flow. If I'm not flowing, then it's totally fine to stop. However, I am one of those people, when I am high vibe and in the flow, that's why pleasure is so important in your business. I can whip out 2 pieces of content in like 7 minutes for real.
Mm-hmm.
Like, or a podcast episode, like a really juicy training will come out of me in 20 minutes, but that's after years and years and years of experience. I love how you talked about the drop shipping. So many people have been contacting me because they want to sell a product. I have a digital product. What I tell them is that digital product was 13 years in the making. I didn't just pop into the business world and all of a sudden make a product when I didn't have clients, when I didn't do group programs, when I didn't know my people. So that seems to be a common fantasy, and I get it. That fantasy of passive income is what's drawing a lot of people in. And I'm really, I do some tough love. I break it down to them that how are you going to sell a product when you don't have an audience? When you don't, when you haven't refined your product? It's a great fantasy. It does work for a very small amount of people where they can sell product before they sell services, but having a service-based business is so much easier because that's how you're going to know your audience. You're going to work with them directly. You're going to refine your offer and how you help them, and that can be packaged later on into a product.
Well, essentially what you're talking about is the fact that you're doing market research. When you're doing service, you're talking to people, you're doing market research, you're understanding what these people want. And then you can go out there and make something that's much more rigid, much more robust, much less flexible. And it'll be polished as well. But you're sort of, what you're doing is for years, for 13 years, for however long you work in the services industry, you're just trying to find, and you're doing the research that, yes, you can do desk research for a year and try and get the same sort of result, but it's never going to be the same. And those people who pop up overnight and do really well, they would have made their income elsewhere. They have to save that money for advertising, or they just really well networked and know how to hustle and make use of a network. I don't see anyone coming out of nowhere being an overnight success, and then, well, those overnight successes end up usually, closing up shop anyway, because there's something unsustainable about that model versus putting in the work and sort of knowing that market and being able to pivot as well. What are your thoughts on that?
Okay, so this sounds counterintuitive to what we're talking about. I actually do know an overnight success who legitly scaled to a multiple 7-figure business in a year. However, I know one of those people out of like the thousands of people online, and she was able to do that, and she got a lot of support from her coach to help her shortcut her way and handle all the responsibilities of scaling. Because like you said, some people who do hit it up big and fast, they burn out and they close down shop because they cannot handle it. They are not equipped with the responsibilities of having that multiple 7-figure business. For the vast majority of people, I'm going to say like 99% plus people will deal with reality that having your business unfold, knowing your people, having an audience, serving people is such a better way to make money in the long run. Now, I do think 5 years ago that drop shipping, or I know like white labeling on Amazon, you were able to make money back then. It's a different marketplace now, and you have to deal with the marketplace now. Like, for instance, a lot of moms specifically are told to become mommy bloggers. So many of my clients have come to me after many months, if not years, trying to make it in a blog. Now, 6 or 7 years ago, maybe this was viable, but nowadays, when you're starting out from scratch, you basically have to blog full time and take a year or two before you get any SEO traffic. There's over 500 million blogs out there, and the vast majority make less than $105 a month. A very small amount make a living wage, which is defined as $2,000 a month. And we're talking about teams with full-time bloggers. It's, in my eyes, it's a low profit business. It's a mom trap. I call it a mom trap. This is one of those common traps where it feels like nowadays people want the easy money. I'm making quotes for that because they want passive income. They want to do a blog. They want to do these kind of things. They want to be YouTube stars. YouTube's another example. You now need 10,000 subscribers to even monetize your site. So you are working for free for blogs and YouTube, just trying to get to the point where you can even begin monetizing.
Start making money off it.
Yeah. So it's like the bottom line is there is no easy path. There just isn't. Like, people who hit the right time, they've made it, and it's amazing. And you're better off being consistent in a sound business. And a sound business means that you are providing something for someone that needs it. Like somebody in some pain, they need something and you provide it. That can be a product. I deal with service-based businesses. That's my specialty. So I
Mm-hmm.
can't speak for the product size. If you are really, truly, your heart wants product, that I really recommend you get a product coach, somebody who has done that, has brought things to the marketplace to help shortcut your trip. Otherwise, you could be calling those stores and everything and retailers for years trying to get in the doors. And for service, it's so much easier because you take an audience that you have access to, figure out what their pain points are through that very essential market research, match them with your current skills. I do not believe in having to learn new skills to have a viable business. That actually makes it less likely because you are not a true expert. You have to spend
Yeah,
so
you're a
much
beginner.
time.
You've got to spend time
You're a
just
beginner.
learning. Yeah, you've just got to spend
Exactly.
time learning how to ride the bicycle
Right.
rather than knowing how to ride a bike to get going. Like how much easier would a bike race be if you know how to ride the bike, versus having
Right.
to learn how to ride a
And
bike
think of how
first.
you're going to show up. Like, let's just say I started riding my bike last week and I'm trying to land these big,
Jumps or
professional
whatever.
bike riding,
Yeah,
yeah, sponsorships. Like,
yeah,
I'm
yeah.
I'm not going to show up for that because most of us have some common decency and integrity to not pretend that we're going to ride the Tour de France last week when we just got our first bicycle last week. But you be shocked at how many moms I see do this. One of my newest clients came to me after spending all of last year trying to sell ClickFunnels because she had taken a ClickFunnel course because she believed
Wow.
she had to take a course. And another client, the same story, but with her, it was website design. And I hate to say this, when I looked at her website design, it was not up to snuff and it was never going to command the premium pay. Some of us have an eye for design and some of us don't. However, this same client has 12 years of music editing. She has a master's in music, has played in an orchestra since she was a child. Her real strength was music, but she believed she could not monetize this because she had been told by previous employees that this is not a marketable skill.
Monetizable sort of, yeah.
Yeah. So we took her skill, her innate skill. We ditched the horrible website design because her eyes are not like her ears. And she is now my podcast editor. And she easily signed her first paying client with so much ease after spending an entire year last year trying on
Mhm.
her own, barking up the wrong tree. She's killing it. She had 5 leads on Monday with no effort of her own because she truly can stand in her expertise. She
Mhm.
knows she can kill it. It's just another example of how trying to do something that really isn't you doesn't work. It's such a struggle versus you grounding into your own skills and expertise and recognizing them. The trick is it's hard to recognize them and see what's profitable. That comes with my superpower of pinpointing people's perfect business ideas, honed with helping sex workers transition out of the adult industry.
Let's talk about, we've alluded to it a fair bit about what you do and your clients. So what do, do you have your, multiple different income streams, or do you sort of have one main thing? What does that look like now for you?
I do have multiple income streams and they're all in the same lane. So what I do is I help pinpoint people's perfect businesses. I specialize in your niche because it all starts with your perfect business idea. I make sure that idea is profitable, purposeful, and pleasurable. And I do one-on-one work with clients. I also do group boot camps and masterminds, and I have that ever so wanted passive income with a
hmm
digital course.
Right. Okay. And when did you start all this? Like the stuff that you're doing now, the multiple income streams, when was that sort of started? Not I guess your whole business journey, but this sort of journey, the current journey.
I had my first group course last year. So I had been a business coach for 13 years, but I did it in real life. I only
hmm
came online last year, 2018. I was not even a member of Facebook. I decided to open up my practice once my son started real school, not preschool. He started kindergarten, and that gave me the hours free to play with my passion and and really start scaling my business online. And I came online just like anybody else, a nobody. No one knew who I was, and I had to earn my street cred online just like everybody else, despite the previous 12 years of business coaching. Not full-time. I took time off to be a full-time mom when my son was young. So when I came online, that's what I did. I got my one-on-one clients just like everybody else. And then when I had enough of a turning point, I opened up my first boot camp on beta. And then I held my second boot camp in January. And I used those boot camps to refine my technique into a course. And that course just came live this year in 2019. And it's been selling. And it is amazing to have notifications from Stripe that are in Teachable that one of my courses has sold. And I do want to emphasize that, like I just mentioned, that's 13 years down the line after
Mm-hmm.
having multiple group courses, so that I knew the material is exactly what I walk my clients through, so that people who are more self-starters or have financial issues, so they want a much more affordable way to pinpoint their perfect business idea, can have that. And I wanted to make sure that this process was really refined.
Yeah, I mean, it's a very smart thing to do, not just from a business point of view, and it's almost like I love business. I absolutely love it. We do marketing, websites, that sort of stuff, in my business, but not everyone can afford that price tag. And what we're doing, we're very soon, in the next week or two, we're going to launch our new website. So by the time you're listening to this, we would have launched our new website. Um, and what we're trying to focus on is supporting those people who are not just self-starters, but like you mentioned, the people who want to help themselves, but can't really afford it, because there is a lot out there to learn and to I guess get better at, just using free resources or very affordable resources. And courses are wonderful, but I guess the catch with a course is that the number of people who actually go through it, I think statistically it's quite disappointing, the number of people who actually finish online courses. But and funny enough, those are the same people who want to get results overnight and want to be overnight successes, but you can't even finish sort of a 10 module course. It's to me, it's very interesting. But tell me a little bit more about your course, just not necessarily what's included in it, but how much is it priced at, for example, and how do you, for the people thinking about starting courses, how do you get people to buy your course? Let's start with what it's priced at.
I price it at $397 so that it's affordable for almost everyone, and that people have to stretch and make an investment. It's a significant enough investment that they'll actually do the work. Because like we talked about, courses do have a single digit completion rate. You have to be a self-starter. And the truth is, when you put money and skin in the game, you're more likely to complete it. It's exactly why my one-on-one clients get amazing results. Not only am I helping them, but they are investing in themselves. That monetary exchange of energy is an investment in themselves and their business.
Yeah, it's something that I've struggled with, because I think I heard, was it Gary Vaynerchuk possibly, you know, say what you want about the guy, but I heard him talk about how he doesn't have an online course. Kat just indicated that she loves him. um, but he sort of mentioned that um, he doesn't believe in selling his knowledge. That's why you'll never see an online course from him. And I've always thought about that as well. I've multiple times come very close to creating an online course, but sort of always took a step back. What are your thoughts on that sort of comment of, you shouldn't really sell your knowledge in that sense, because it can get outdated, it can get replaced, it's not the most current knowledge. But I guess the catch is that on the flip side, you're offering the only alternative being either doing this work for free and making no income and therefore not being sustainable, or having to charge way too much to work one-on-one with people.
Well, Gary Vee is one of a kind, as we know, and his business model works really great for him. I mean, he gets paid $180,000 for a 45-minute, speaking engagement, and that's amazing. And that's his play for his VaynerMedia. However, for most of us, like I lost track because I was like too busy thinking about Gary Vee. I lost track of my thought. Oh yeah, giving things away for free. So I give away a lot of free content. I encourage people not to be afraid of that because people are still going to want it personalized. So that's why I give
Hmm.
away so much trainings on my website. I have a 45-minute training with the exact 4 key steps of starting a fulfilling high purpose business as a busy mom. I'm going to replace that with exactly what you need to pinpoint your perfect business idea. I have no fears of that because it's one thing to have information, know what to do, and it's a completely other thing to implement and know how to implement correctly. Whenever I take people through like a boot camp or a group course, it's amazing how they can have that information and still fail to implement it correctly. Or this is a huge mistake. So this is great for your audience. I see the number one mistake when you actually decide and you purchase and you're going to make it happen, whether it's a group course, one-on-one, rushing through it, trying to rush to the
Hmm.
end. It does not speed you up. It actually slows you down. I do not recommend that because what happens is you go so surface on your answers and on your business. It's so surface when it's better to go slow and deep. The deeper you go, the more you can own your niche, the more money you can make and the bigger of an expert you can be in your field. So we didn't talk about this, but I got my riches from niching down. I learned at the age of 22 that the riches are truly in the niches. I niched down my successful business and I had a multiple 6-figure business at the age of 22, bought my first home in expensive Los Angeles at the age of 23. So I know for a fact that it's good to niche, not to be afraid of it. Instead of going really surfacey and going wide, trying to do it all. One of my clients came to me offering way too many things. She was really, really multi-talented, but she was offering things from like the $47 range to the multiple couple $1,000 range. The
Hmm.
first thing we had to do was really go in deep to what she really enjoyed, what was going to be profitable, what was going to meet the needs of her vision that she wanted for her life and her family. We niched her down to one thing. She only helps busy service providers with Dubsado, one software program. Guess what? She spent a year and a half trying to make it on her own. She didn't get like almost barely any clients, like just low end clients. And now she is only doing automation through one platform. We dubbed her the Dubsado bestie, and clients come to her.
Hmm.
Referrals come to her.
Well, I just want to touch quickly on, well, first of all, niching down. So true about it. But going back to the fact that some people just rush through courses, I think it's almost sort of, they're the same people who just rush through things that they've heard about, that will help their business, forgetting that your business doesn't propel forward, and you don't propel forward because you've accomplished or achieved something. You don't move forward because you've finished a course. You move forward because you've taken that information and implemented that information and taken the time to implement it properly. And the same thing happens with, I think, anything else in life. You don't, just because you rush through putting your IQ furniture together doesn't mean it's the same result as taking your time to make sure that everything's measured out and everything's equal. You're going to end up on one hand with a perfect, solid, rock solid piece of furniture, and on the other hand, an IKEA piece of rubbish that will fall apart in a year. It's just, I think it's so fascinating that people don't realize that it's about taking the time. It's about implementing. It's about, putting in 6 months now to have 12, 24 months of success versus putting in 5 minutes now to just fall flat on its face. Um, it's just about putting in the time and then niching down and understanding what you're sort of after. But let's go to long-term vision really quickly, because long-term vision is extremely important. Not to get distracted by it, but to know what you're working towards. the way I put it, and I've talked to many business owners and businesses where they don't know their long-term vision. They don't know where they want to get to. And to me, it's just that classic. Well, how do you know to get to the shops if you don't have a map and you don't know the roads? How do you know what, like, in what world is that achievable? Let's talk about long-term visions as a result of that. What do you how do you sort of start to envision and start to think about long-term visions with your clients?
The first thing I do with my clients is to have them really spell out their 1 year vision. And you would be surprised at how difficult this is for people. They usually want to talk about what they don't want instead of really grounding into what they do want. So I do 1 year so it does not feel as overwhelming. People later on in business, we do the 5 year plan or a 3 year plan. But for people new in business, I'll start with the newbies. It's 1 year and moving them into what they do want, and more importantly, how they're going to feel, what their day looks like, really mapping it out so like they exactly know the roadmap of where they're going. So I do believe that that vision planning is important. I like to keep my plans personally between 1 and 5 years because I love the flexibility and freedom of being able to pivot. I believe that even if you niche down really deep like I am, and I have, that it's okay to pivot. I've helped people pivot into 7-figure businesses later on in their business when they did not enjoy parts of their business and they were fearful of releasing it because they were making so much money in it. I've helped them successfully pivot into what they did most enjoy. So it's okay. You're not married to your niche. So it's important to ground into what vision you want for your life, your family, what it really looks like, how you're feeling. And I encourage my people to focus on this a minimum of 5 times a day. First thing upon waking up, last thing before bed. And it only takes 1 minute. Now, I personally use the Breathe app on my Apple Watch. When it comes up, for that 1 minute, envision what I want. For other people, they have a timer on their calendar, or it could be while you're brushing your teeth. It
Mhm.
doesn't matter. It's just focusing over and over again on where you want to go, releasing what you don't want to go. Your vision does not include anything you don't want. So it's not like I don't want to work weekends is not part of your vision. Your vision, I'm working 3 to 4 days a week. That's your
Yeah,
vision. Well, I've just done this so often, and you'd be surprised at how negative people's visions are
yeah,
about like, I don't need to speak to any, like, I don't have this debt. It's like, okay,
yeah,
so you
yeah.
have, yeah. So you want to really refine your vision so that when you truly feel it, it makes you feel good. And from that,
Mhm.
that's where I think the pleasure comes in. Really, the more you feel good, the greater likelihood of success that you're going to have. And Germaine and I keep bringing up, and it's not to bring you down, it's to give you a dose of reality that it does not happen overnight. Even the one unicorn that I know out of like thousands of people online, she worked her ass off. It didn't happen overnight. Her she's in her early 20s. She worked like 16 hours a day. She didn't have a
Mhm.
family. She didn't have a dog. She didn't have, that's what
You've got to
she
put in
wanted.
the work, and then
Yeah.
even then, statistically, it's sort of like saying, "Oh, I know one music artist."
Yeah.
Well, yeah, you know one music artist that made it big, but I'm guarantee you, you know 100 others who are still, busking every weekend, or just, making the same salary that you do, because they sing at events and they do small things like that. But one thing I want to touch on with the long term vision is that it is really awesome to be able to think about what you want and know what you're working towards, and also the fact that the human brain is funny, right? It overestimates what you can achieve in a day, but it actually underestimates what you can achieve in a year. So if you think about it, a year is, say, let's say 40 working weeks, and that's a lot of days. That's 200 days of stuff to do. But then when you think about a year, I think the human brain is quick to look at a year as a short period of time. Well, funny enough, forgetting that it's 200 working days back, like it's cumulative. So when it comes to a long-term vision, even if it's 1 year, 1 year is a long period of time. You can get a lot of work done. I mean, just doing some quick sort of napkin maths, that's about 1,600 work hours approximately, for you to sort of get stuff done. What sort of excuse do you have? No matter what you're working on, you've just got to sort of time block and talk and do those things that we've talked about throughout this episode, so that you can build out a life that lets you do what you want to do, and forget what you don't want to do. And like you mentioned, it's again such a funny thing where I don't want to work weekends. I don't want to do things I don't want to do. Well, no, flip it around. I only want to work X amount of time. I only want to do what I enjoy. It's changing that mindset as well of understanding and changing that tone around what you're trying to achieve and what you're trying to do. Now, where can we find out more about what you do?
You can find me on my website at sahmentrepreneur.com. That's short for Stay at Home Mom Entrepreneur, sahmentrepreneur.com. And there you will find trainings on pinpointing your perfect business idea.
Fantastic. Future Tribe, as always, we'll have that in the description. We'll have a link to Kat's website and any social media that she may be on as well. Let's wrap up with the top 12. Kat, are you ready?
I don't know about 12, but we'll see. Let's go.
Well, let's get started with top 3 books or podcasts that you recommend.
Well, we do love that Gary Vee. So the Gary Vee comes to my mind. I like Entrepreneurs on Fire. And for a little bit more of a feminine feel, I sometimes like to listen to, oh, I'm having a brain fart. It's a money mindset course just about bringing in feminine energy and less hustle and less push and accepting like abundance into you. Oh, I wish I could remember the name of it right now, but I can't.
You can email that through if you do remember it, and we can include it in the links below. Top 3 software or tools that you can't live without.
Acuity. I love Acuity. I use it for so much scheduling. I use it to build my high-end programs. I even used it on my first boot camp where I threw it together in 2 weeks and didn't even make a sales page for it. So Acuity is really the one thing I really can't live without. My website, but I don't even do anything for it. I outsource for that.
Mm-hmm.
And then I outsource for all the other technology stuff. So
how do
Acuity.
you manage so Acuity is just how you manage your day as well, like your meetings?
Oh no,
all that, or?
I use my iPhone.
Your iPhone calendar app.
Yeah, I use my iPhone calendar app or Google Maps, and then it dings on my watch, and I know, and like when my work time is, like my dedicated work time, I take that seriously. Just like any other appointment, I am not late for myself. I was a little late the other day. I was eating breakfast with my husband. I saw that I was 5 minutes late. My watch told me I was, and I'm like, I got to go. I'm late for work, even though it was to my office upstairs.
Yeah.
Like I take my work seriously.
Well, you have to. It's
Yeah.
that concept of, if you work from home, get changed, get dressed as if you're going into work. Don't rock up in your PJs, because guess what? You're gonna get the same results as if you were asleep. Are there any mantras that you try and live by? Things that you like to tell yourself?
Decide on success.
Love it.
And just take the first few steps and it'll just keep going. It's just like exercise. Sometimes you don't want to do the first minute, and then once you start, it gets easier and easier.
It always feels good at the end.
Right?
It always feels good. And you're walking back to the car,
end.
you're lifeless, but you're sweaty. You're the worst sort of physically you've ever been in terms of how you present yourself, but you feel the best inside. So love that. Last one, top 3 people you follow or study. I assume Gary Vee is one.
I don't follow him as much as you would think. I like a coach named Lacey Seitz. I like her stuff. She does something called Happy Magic, which I follow, which is about infusing the happiness into your life and bringing about what you want from your life. Because what we didn't cover in this podcast is I started out in a very abusive home. So I've created a dream life for myself, and that takes energy. It takes me consciously choosing that over and over again. So I love following Happy Magic. I like following, well, I do like following Gary Vee. He's great. And he's always like, yeah, keep posting on LinkedIn over and over again. Like the algorithms, don't just post every day, post 500 times a day. And you know what? Sometimes I want to hear that. I'm not into TikTok, like he keeps saying.
Uh-huh. Yes.
I do listen to him. And then somebody else I follow, like who else do I follow religiously? I follow my own inner voice. I trust myself. That's key. That's really key. I say, if I'm not feeling trusty, I said, if I trust myself, what would I do in my business today, or in my marriage, or in this friendship, or in this decision? So I follow myself.
Yeah, I think I find this a lot. I'm very good at helping other people, looking in from the outside. Um, and I try to be very self-aware, but I think people inherently aren't very good at sort of looking in from the outside at themselves. So being able to sort of turn around and go, hold on, if I trust myself, and maybe if this was someone else, what advice would I give? What would I tell you to start working on within your business? How would I tell you to, handle that argument that you had with your partner earlier today? Um, I love that. That is awesome. Is there anything else any parting words before we wrap up this episode?
If you want success, just decide on it. No more wishing, wanting, hoping. Even part of your vision statement, erase the want. Just say it exactly like it's unfolding. I work 3 to 4 hours a day. I'm making the money that I love. I have the flexibility. I'm so joyous and happy. I spend 2 days a week at the beach. I'm going bike riding. You're doing it already. Just decide on the success. Take those steps. Just like Germaine said, there's so many days in a year. Just take one step a day. Get started and you'll get there.
Love it. Love it. It's so funny the number of businesses that I work with. For example, an accountant who might say, we aim to make your finances easier and explain to you how you can have a better life. No, you don't aim, you do it. You're not aiming to, you don't want to, you do it.
Yeah.
Forget this passive, I want to have a better life. No, I'm working on having a better life. And just do it. Just turn up and do it. Well, I get very amped up. Thanks for your time today, Kat. We'll have all the links, Future Tribe, so you can follow her and look up everything that we've talked about and get involved with some of the courses even. We'll keep in touch, Kat. Thanks for turning up today, and all the best.
It's been such a pleasure.
Likewise. Awesome.